Booktube. So I forgot to film this intro when the lighting was good, so it is what it is. But it is time for another reading vlog. This one is the first ever of 2021, so I was thinking, what should the theme be? And the theme is gonna be catching up on all the 2020 books I missed, or the favorites. So I'm just gonna read 3 books that I feel like I've seen every bloody where on Booktube, Book Twitter. These are the ones that were favorites that I don't even know if people like. Like, I think people like them because I saw them all the bloody time, but I'm not sure. So also ask you on Twitter to like contribute. So I have a pretty good idea. First book we're gonna be reading is Legendborn, which I think it's an Arthurian retelling. Then we're also gonna be reading Cemetery Boys, and that one is like Latinx story about ghosts. And then I think we're gonna be reading The Invisible Life of LaRue. I didn't know what to choose for the third book, and you know, I asked and about 80% of all the comments said LaRue, so we're gonna be reading it. I'm so excited. I kind of started Legendborn. I started last night, read 1% and fell asleep. It's not the book's fault. It was good what I read. I don't remember any of it, but it was good. But I was tired, so you know, it's fine. Hello, it is I, and I look like a mess, but doesn't matter. I was reading Legendborn. I'm a bit too early to tell you what the synopsis is, but there was the scene where like the main character like finds out about the magical world, and it just reminds me so much of Clary like seeing the like Nephilim and like all that for the first time in City of Bones. Not in like someone copies someone, not at all. It just gives me vibes of an urban fantasy, and I have not read an urban fantasy in a while. So actually really enjoying it. Yeah, I like the vibes. I don't know much yet. Alright, I was wrong and Clary could never. But maybe let's get into a little bit of a synopsis first. So Legendborn is an urban fantasy, and we follow Bree, whose mom was in a car accident 3 months prior to the main plot of the book, and that really rattled Bree, and she has decided to move to Carolina, I think, to a university for like an early admission program or like summer school. I don't really understand it. But anyway, and she gets entangled with this secret society and people called Legendborn, and it's all about kind of how the legend of the legend of King Arthur was true. And there's like these people from the first ever round table, they kind of been living on in their descendants. It's like a whole thing. It's a bit complicated. Basically, Bree gets involved and she wants to become kind of an acolyte because she thinks that they have something to do with her mother's murder. And she thinks that because mages, the Merlins, basically they can kind of take away your memory, and one of them tried doing that to her, and then she realized that someone's altered her memory before and she can kind of break away from the spell. Although the beginning gave me a little bit of City of Bones vibes, just because how she sees the first encounter, and just the fact that these like warriors fight demons, and then also because there was this scene where she got injured and they had to take her in and they gave her something. They were like, oh no, but if we give her this to the once born, which is like a normal person, they're gonna get hurt or whatever. And that was just like, you know, the Clary with the runes. Also, Bree has some kind of sight and she can see these creatures without being the Legendborn or being in the organization properly. So there's something going on. But I love Bree so much. Clary could never, like I said. Bree is just so strong-willed, so spirited, just knows what she wants. She goes for it. She works hard. Just the amount of agency she has taken over her own life. It's not like she was thrust into it. I mean, she was thrust into the first encounter because she had to find out about it. But once she did, she's like so singularly focused on getting to the bottom, getting to the truth, finding what happened to her mom. She's very driven. I love her character. I think she's very powerful, but in a good way, and actually has agency, and I love that. I find it really interesting because this Legendborn or like Arthurian society is basically all white, because it's like people who are descendants, but you know, obviously they're descendants from like Welsh kings. But it's not just that, it's just basically if you're rich, you can kind of get into it, and you're rich because you've been into the society, you know, like how all secret societies work. Just rich people helping rich people. Bree's basically the only person of color in the whole society, and just in general, she's already had to deal with racist cops, racist dean, and some racist comments, and it's microaggressions, but it really shows you how it grates on you and how it gets in your head and how unfair it is. But if you say something, then it gets worse. So I really enjoyed that. And like at first I was like, why is all the boys like potential love interest are white? But I guess it makes sense in the context of this rich society. So far I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 27% in, I want to say. I really like the writing. At first I thought it was a little bit elaborate, like it was a bit hard to understand what I'm reading, but I got into it now and I find it way easier to digest. And yeah, Brie is just a really cool character. Overall, it's giving me all the vibes of, it's giving a little bit vibes of Knife House just because of the secret society and the whiteness of it, and then also just like City of Bones because of the urban fantasy nature of it. But it's totally its own thing, and I'm super excited how the whole Legendborn thing also, how she plays into it, because obviously Brie's not like just like a normal mundane, you know, like she's not only a once-born, like she has the side and whatever. So I really want to see, I want her to be like Morgana or something, like someone cool. For like, I really used to talk about my love for the Arthurian legend. So when I was young, I read Avalon High, and I read that book, and I finished, closed it, and I opened it and I read it again. That's how much I loved it. I have not read it in years. I was like 14 when this happened. But I love this book. So Avalon High, I don't know if you know, but it's by Meg Abbott, and she wrote The Princess Diaries. But it's basically like an Arthurian retelling in present day time with like all the Arthurian characters kind of being reborn into new bodies. And I really like that one. And I just like the idea of legendary entities being reborn into modern bodies and how they fit into the legend. So I'm really curious. So I want Brie to be like Morgana, because Morgana is supposed to be like an evil person, right? The only issue is I think she's like Arthur's half-sister, and I think the Arthur's once come is the love interest, but you know, it's fine. Like the bloodlines are very withered down, so maybe that's not a good idea. I don't think she's his half-sister in all the retellings. In some I think she's like a stepsister or something, or in some she's not even his sister at all. So it's really dodgy there, you know, like the legends are all different. So she could be Morgana, you know. Or I'm thinking like, what's her name? Not Genevieve. Or she could be the wife, but I don't like that. I don't want her to be like, I thought she was gonna be Arthur, I'm not gonna lie. Apparently she's not Arthur, but I thought she was gonna be. I don't know why. I just was like, who's the main character here? Who's the main character there? And there we go. But yeah, that's my incoherent thoughts so far. Really enjoying it. I love Brie and the main love interest, and there was just a kiss, but I'm really worried. Like they already kissed and it's not even half the book. That means trouble's coming. We all know that. Trouble's coming, and it's probably gonna be something stupid, and we're gonna have to go for the bad boy. I don't like the bad boy. I just want my lovely couple to be happy. Is that too much to ask? The bad boy's growing on me. I finished Legendborn and it was amazing. It was so good. I mean, honestly, I had so many feelings and thoughts. I think this book beautifully talks about grief and the way the author based the grief of the main character on her own mother's passing and what she felt at the time. And it's not just like personal grief, but also intergenerational grief and trauma. And I really love that. I love how black magic, but also history came into focus and discussion. I just really love how that was executed. I think the author did an amazing job. I totally understand why everyone enjoys this book so much. I think the characters were really well developed as well, because I felt all the things I was supposed to feel. I hated Sal in the beginning. Now I really love him. I loved Nick in the beginning. Now I still kind of love him, but I'm conflicted and I know where this is going. So, you know. Yeah, just overall, such a wonderful story and such an important one as well, because it slips in some very sad historical events, but very important to know about, very important to talk about into the story, and just it all makes sense. And I was blown away by the end. I mean, I guess I kind of called it without realizing what I called, and then it just like, I was like, what? You know, like it was fine. Totally enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I think, well, 4.5 maybe on my spreadsheet, whatever, but it was very good. And I'm really excited for the sequel, actually. I now see why the hype was there and why I kept seeing it everywhere. 5 out of 5 for meeting my expectations in terms of hype. I would highly recommend it, actually. Really good book.
Okay. Get through. Get through.
The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So, this is Victoria Schwab's newest book. If you don't know, she's written books like Vicious, The Savage Song, and Darker Shade of Magic is probably the most popular one. In this book, we follow Addie LaRue, who was born in the 17th century in France, and she feels like her life is really constricted. She knows that her parents want her to marry, and she knows that she's not made for this life. She really wants more. She wants to explore the world and find her own way in life. And on her wedding night, she feels desperate and makes a deal with the darkness or the devil, however you want to interpret it. And basically he grants her immortality. She can live as long as she wants to, but at the end of her life, she will give her soul away to him. There's a price, and the price is that whoever meets her doesn't remember her. So for example, she'd walk into a room, have a conversation, someone would go to the bathroom, come back, and he's not remember her. No one remembers her. So it's a very lonely existence. And now we are in present day New York. Well, it's not really present day, it's 2014 for some reason. I don't know. I'm sure it's gonna be important. She goes to the shop and tries to steal a book because she has no money, and then the shop clerk actually catches her and turns out he can remember. So I'm about 54% in. I'm sorry I didn't update you earlier, but I was really enthralled in it. At first, I had a really hard time reading it. It was a bit too elaborate, like the writing was really beautiful, but it was really like going over my head for a bit. But then once I got used to it, it was really beautiful, really enthralling. You really want to know where this is going because the plot is a bit slow, but at the same time it's there, I guess. It's mostly just like atmospheric, character-driven book rather than like really fast plot. I quite like Addie. A lot of the negative reviews I heard talked about her not really doing much with her life, and although I kind of get that, because the whole point was that she wanted to like travel and stuff, and she's gone to like US and she's kind of like, that's my job done. Like, I traveled the world. Well, I've gone to the US. Or maybe she did travel, but just doesn't really mention it. But I really empathize with how lonely and sad her existence is. I think that's portrayed quite well. She does become a little bit like in the days, you know, she doesn't really care because she's like so lonely and sad. And how many times can you meet the person for the first time? And all that, so I get it. Henry, I quite like him. I'm not like in love with him, but like he's nice. I'm excited to learn a bit more about him. We just had some quite big reveal, which I did see coming, not gonna lie. But at the same time, it's not really like a plot twist. I finished Addie LaRue! Whee! I actually finished quite quickly. I thought it took me like 50 days, but then actually took me 2 days, so it wasn't bad. I just couldn't put it down yesterday. I got to like half the book and then I just started reading and I just couldn't put it down. I have very complicated feelings. I don't know what I'm thinking. Honestly, I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed it as well. I don't know, did I love it? I don't know. I did cry a little bit at the end. I think I really liked the way it was written. I like the themes of it. I kind of like the plot. I kind of like the characters. But there's so many things that was a bit weird and a bit missed potential, I think. This is a bit of a mix, you know. So I know what kind of a story this is. This is a slow story, more about themes, more about sitting there with characters and enjoying it. I understand that, I really do. But I'm still a bit baffled how she did almost nothing in 300 years. I'm sorry, but no, 300 years And the only continent she visited was Europe and North America. And I don't even think she made it to Canada or Mexico. Just USA. Like, honestly, she stayed in France for like 100 years. Then was forced to go to like Florence. I don't know, it's just like, you lived for 300 years. She got involved in a conflict like once. Like in like a world event, she got involved in once. It just feels a bit lame. I don't know. Like, I know it's hard, but like, she talked about being stolen in a ship. She talked about flying. She could go to Asia. Like, are you not curious? Like, this girl's like, I need to live my everyday so that I get the most out of it and I don't want to die and blah 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 blah. And then she doesn't even visit anywhere but the Western world, and not even including Australia. I don't know. It's just like, girl, you need to like expand your horizons. No, it's just me. I mean, honestly. And she was like, I speak so many languages. And then all the language she said was like German, Italian, French, English, and like, I don't know, Spanish. And like, you know, there's like a whole ass like other half of the world, right? I don't think she made it to like Russia, which is still even Europe. She didn't. I don't think she made it to Greece. Like, she literally just made it to France, Italy, Spain, maybe Spain, we don't know, and America in 300 years. Okay, I think this is where my issue with her character lies. So the reason why she made the deal with the devil, I understand. I 1000% understand. She was a girl in medieval whatever times with no agency, with nothing, and she wanted to live her life. Fair enough. Go live your life. And I understand that her horizons at first were like so small. Like, she went to Paris and that was like the peak of her existence. I understand it, right? Because she grew up in a time and a place where the 10 meters around your house was your whole entire life. Your whole village was your entire life, you know? I understand that. So her horizons were really small at first. That makes complete sense. No arguing there, right? Makes sense. But then she lives for 300 years and it feels like her horizons, it was like this was her horizon. And then it was like this. That wasn't the horizon exploding. I mean, it went from this to this. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand that at first you'd be hesitant to leave the country, to leave Paris, to leave France. I understand that. But eventually, she's like, wow, being dragged to Italy kind of expanded all of my, like, just expanded my worldview. And then she still kind of stays there for ages. She doesn't, I don't know, it's just for a person who wanted to live her life and see everything new, and she just clung to life so freaking desperately because she needed to see everything new. She did not think to maybe visit a different continent. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous. America ain't that nice to be staying there for like 100 years. I don't know, I'm sorry. It is, I understand what people are saying. I think his name's Joel. I saw a hilarious tweet about being like, did she meet Martin Luther King, or is she too busy having sex? And that is kind of the thing with this book. All she does is have sex with people and inspire artists, which I understand. I mean, get yours, girl. Like, I have nothing against that. Like, go have sex. But like, go have sex in Asia, you know? Like, go have sex in Africa. Go have sex in Australia. I don't know. Just like, be interesting, you know? Honestly, just such a small worldview. Yeah, just considering all her whole character was her wanting to see the world. She saw almost none of it. I just find it hilarious. I don't know. Like, we didn't need to see her in every place, but she could like mention it, being there. I don't know. Just a bit... The ending, it was kind of what I expected, kind of not. I feel like I expected it to be even sadder. People said it was really bittersweet, and I guess it was, but like, I could feel the sadness of being immortal. I could. I understand. I empathize with that. I mean, I'm not immortal, but I can imagine, I guess. Oh, also, I read someone's comment on Goodreads about them feeling they got a bit cheated because the book was pitched as a girl falls in love with devil. And not gonna lie, the only time I heard it referred to as a girl falls in love with the devil was when people complained that it wasn't the girl falls in love with the devil, but that's what they were sold. Like, I was never sold on this premise of the girl falls in love with the devil. It's more like people being like, but that's not it. Yeah, it's not it. Like, don't really expect that. It's like, I guess to a point, but not really. So it's not really, that's not the story. It's a slow, melancholic ride I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, maybe 3.5, maybe 4 on my own spreadsheet. I don't really know. I feel a bit conflicted because I did enjoy it. I did really fly through it. I did cry a little bit towards the end. I do understand what I was trying to do. I understand the discussion. I like the discussion. There was just a couple of ridiculous things and a couple of missed opportunities. Yeah, for someone who lived forever, it was not that exciting. Like, her life sounds more boring than mine. Definitely had more sex than me, anyway. And I like the character of the devil, or like the darkness look. He was an interesting addition. I liked all the scenes with the two of them together and how that kind of played together. It's still a beautiful exploration of what it means to be immortal and what it means to be forgotten, and then what it means to remember. Oh, that's the part I really liked. Seeing what it means for Addie to be remembered, to hear her name, to make a mark on the world. That was beautiful. I really like how that was handled. Honestly, I like most of the book. I think the book was good. Okay, it sounds like I was negative. No, the book was good. I really enjoyed it. It was good. 4 stars, I think. Alright, Cemetery Boys. We follow Yadiel, and he is a trans boy and he's also a brujo. So basically brujex, I think. They're all like from Latin America roots, and they're basically like witches, but not really. So female bruja can heal, and then male brujas, I don't know, there's difference, but I'm listening to the other book, and the male bruja can fight like spirits that were wronged, or just like bring spirits back to life, basically. And Yadiel, he's, like I say, a trans boy, so he has been struggling with his family accepting that and also letting him do the quinceañera rites. So basically, when you have your quinceañera, you're 15 years old and you get your weapon of choice and you get access to your magic. And they think because he's a boy, but because he's a trans boy, the magic won't work because he's not claiming his healing powers, but he wants to claim his fighting powers. And so Yadiel decides to do this rite of passage by himself, and he enlists the help of his cousin. But when he calls his first ever ghost, because he's looking for his cousin who has died, so he's looking for the ghost of the cousin, but actually when he summons the ghost, it's not the cousin, it's just a boy from his school who died in mysterious circumstances. And it's basically about the three of them, so Yadiel, and the ghost and his cousin, trying to find out what happened to Julian, I think his name, and then also what happened to his cousin. So far, I love it. It's a queer story because he's trans, but additionally, he's also gay. I find it absolutely cute. I really love the trio, the main trio. I think they're super. I love their dynamics. The ghost, he's a bit annoying, but I think that's the point. And Yadiel is a really, really good protagonist. I really enjoy him. I think the audiobook narrator as well is doing a stellar job because like he does the voice for everyone so distinctly, and it's really, really fun. So I'm absolutely enjoying that part. Overall, it's super, super engaging. It's really beautifully written. I love seeing the Latinx culture, just all these like things that you hear, like something de las muertas. What I'm trying so eloquently say is Dia dos Muertos. That day is like really big part of the story, and the way they use it, quinceañeras. There's just so many really, really cool things about this. I have some predictions for the villain and what's happening. I feel like it's really out of the left field, but honestly it makes so much sense if you read enough and you consume enough stories. So I'm curious to see if I'm right. But overall, I'm really, really enjoying it. Super well written, super interesting. Love the characters. And like I said, so interesting in terms of culture and how that's portrayed. So I'll update you once I know a little bit more. Hello, it is I. Okay, I finished Cemetery Boys and I must say I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a good book. It's really well written. I appreciate the trans representation. I mean, listening to the audiobook narrator's interview with the author, I realized that the audiobook narrator was actually also trans Latinx teen, and so was the author. Well, I assume they're both not teenagers anymore, but they were at some point. So I thought that was so awesome that a trans person could lend their voice to the trans character, as well as the author's representation in this one's really strong of their experience. I mean, obviously not with all the magical stuff. I loved seeing all the brujex culture. I love seeing Dia dos Muertos and quinceañera and the role of all of that. Absolutely loved it. It made me so sad. The brew hacks aren't real and that I'm not one of them, so I can't celebrate with my passed away ones during Dia dos Muertos, because in this book they like actually come back to life. It's not really a spoiler, it's like every year at Dia dos Muertos all the passed away brew hacks come back to life, or maybe not come back to life, they just come back to Earth as ghosts, which was super cool. I really found that endearing, amazingly touching, and I really liked that. Something that was maybe a bit of a drawback is that the big twist, reveal, whatever, was so predictable, it was not even funny. I could pretty much see the ending of the book and how it was gonna play out from maybe 10% in. So it was a bit predictable in a sense that it has been done before, this twist. I feel like it's very popular and it didn't really take away from my enjoyment of the book. I personally wasn't shocked, but I can see if you've never seen it before, or maybe you're not as familiar with the trope, or maybe you're just enjoying the ride and not trying to think too much, you can really enjoy the twist and be shocked. And even if you guessed the twist like I did, I think you can still enjoy the book perfectly fine like I did. Like I said, it did not really take away from my enjoyment. Overall, I really loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars, I think. Or maybe 5, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 4.5. I think 4.5. I would highly recommend it actually, and I would say that this vlog was an enormous success. I loved Legendborn, I loved Cemetery Boys, and I really liked Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And that's pretty much end of the vlog. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate all of you. I am so close to 600 at the time of recording of this video, so thank you so much guys. You are the most amazing ones, and you're making the beginning of my year slightly less terrible. Thank you so much for watching. I love hanging out with you. As always, if you could like, subscribe and comment, I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!